Welcome back to this Crashbox. I decided to rank the games because a lot of people want to do so as well, yet they never have the time to, but now I can. Let's start off with Captain Bones. Well, he was hilarious with his insults, but sometimes the puzzles got a little. He was too degrading at times. Sometimes the puzzles were a bit simplistic, and also I don't like how they use the full nine rather than the full 9 with the stem at the bottom rather than changing the 4 into a 9. They would never use the number 4, so that was a red flag in itself. But I liked some of the visual puzzles, like remove 2 squares and then make the dog face the other way. So it was a pretty good classic with us Scott Bullock doing the voiceover. Dirty Pictures. This one never really got to me. It was just filler with the music and historical figures, dead or alive. It didn't really engage me. Distraction News. I'm gonna say this is a B because sometimes they would blatantly reuse stuff from Haunted House Party, and the animation gets cheaper in the second season, and the answers are a bit too obvious. But what I really like is Dora's big comebacks with how we answer, and even and some of the information is pretty accurate and still easy to remember. All you have to do is close your eyes. Here we are. Okay, this one was a little bit funny, but it didn't get too creative because some of the sounds were oddly specific, and other times the voices get a bit degrading, and the to put in CTR, I also want to say it was a rarely used game. It looked like they really couldn't elaborate on it too much. And one of them involved getting in trouble, and it was probably the last one that they made because they ended up fleeing the situation. Okay, here's a good one. Eddie Ball. This is one you had to guess what animal swallowed the guy. It gave us some pretty good clues, and it was a good running gag, although some people will love it for other reasons. The only the only other thing that I have to say about it is that it has a really catchy theme song. Edible, he's edible. He really is incredible. He's simply the best of the bunch. There's simply no disguising that he's so appetizing, and we want him for our lunch. Moving on to Haunted House Party. Ooh, this one was awesome. I love seeing all the dead historical figures come alive, and we need to know who they are. And the narrator has some witty comebacks, and we also get good stop motion with the jack o' lanterns as well as the statues. It's pretty fun. Okay, Lens McCracken. This one I think it's a bit better than the ears because I think it has a little bit more, a little bit easier perception in what you see rather than what you hear, and you don't really have to solve the case. You just have to know what the images are based on his clues, and it's a fun little gag at the end. Oh, we have a great one. This one is mugshots. Oh, this is so amazing. We get to see so many characters with so many actors play the weird, like cartoon characters in real life, trying to say what they say is true or not. Like, I took the family to Utah to see the Grand Canyon, or I have a husky and an Irish setter, or even I was able to run a 2-minute mile, but you have to see which is true or false. In fact, there was my favorite false alibi was like, I got food stuck in my asparagus yesterday. You know, my food pipe. Yep, he barely mispronounced esophagus, and thus he was guilty. And his name was Larry the Lump. And they had some pretty good facts, and a few of them have aged well. Most of them have well aged. But this next one has not. Paige and Sage. It's basically two Barbie dolls. You have to see the differences on the side. It's literally the same image for a whole minute, aside from a few moving parts. This one never really got me. It was pretty disengaging. But I know a lot of you doll fans really like those kinds of things. Poop or Scoop is next. I'm going to give this just above Distraction News. I really love the carnival aspect, but sometimes I think some of these questions are outdated based on new creatures that come about. Like maybe evolution of birds, like a few other flightless ones, and even the millipede theory, like 710 legs, but now they've been identified as having over 750. And but I do like the fact that they made about the 17-year cicada. They really want to make sure you got all those numbers. And while we're on the task of numbers, we get my favorite one, psychomath. Basically, Professor Rocket teaches you all these. You need to memorize all the facts of life and then put them in equation via visual puzzles. Like inches in a foot, adding to the days of June, and divide that sum by the peace sign, and you get yourself 21. They had some pretty creative visuals, and they get honestly a bit more creative for season 2 because they don't reuse the same backgrounds, and Professor Rocket has a bit more edge to his voice. Although I liked his extra commentary in the first season. It was a fun little time for me. Okay, this one is Radio Scramble. It had good music, but sometimes the clues are a bit too obvious, and we don't get to see too much of the different routines, like the sports or the weather. I kind of would have loved to see those more often because they would put a bit more character to him, but otherwise, Jumpin' Johnny Jumble has a cool voice, and the instrumentals for the songs are pretty neat, fun to listen to. Oh, you guys are probably going to hate me for this next one, but I gotta put Revolting Slob in B because he really made some of these episodes really memorable with the puppetry and even how he moved and sounded. He was gross, but he was like so compellingly gross that you had to watch him, and you got to learn vocabulary from the secretary from Ferris Bueller. That's right, it's Edie McClurg. This is the voiceover for the narrator. And season 2, they realized he was too scary for kids, so they toned him down and made him a bit more silly and a bit more humorous, and I think that was a good choice. We got to see more variation of his behavior. Now we got this next one, and it's Riddlesnake. I'm gonna put this in between Slob and Jumble because it commonly is the last game of the series, and you kind of feel it from the vibes, the Mayan or Indian vibes, whatever you call it, and it's a simple. All you have to do is solve a little riddle, which is kind of a joke, but I really like the music that the Rattlesnake plays, and the stop motion of that is really well done. Now let's get to another great game. This one is Sketchpad. You basically have to see what happens next in a story as one of the pages is missing. So, for example, this football team goes out to a restaurant, but they're out of regular chopsticks, so they have to use 4-foot-long chopsticks. In the end, they eat all the food that they want to, and how do they do it? Well, they feed each other. Basically, you have to figure that out because they skip that part. And it's Greg Eagles doing the voiceover of that, and he did a great job. The jazz music in that sketch is also pretty greatly done. Okay, let's move on. 10 seconds. This one was a little too childish for me, but I liked some of the animations that they used for the puzzles. They were rebus puzzles that you had to guess within the titular time frame. And although it was quick, it got a little grating with that voice, and then some. Okay. Oh, here's another great one. Think Tank. You have to guess a word that combines all 3 aspects of something together. So you have a golf player, a gay, and a monkey, and the keyword is swing because the monkey swings from trees. Golf player swings the club, and the gate swings open. Yeah, it had a pretty good stop motion in this one too, and another great background musical, and Captain Bob is another fun character. And last but not least, Word Shake. I'm going to put this right next to Captain Bones. The physical comedy in this one is great. It's like an old 1920s classic film. You have to combine two words to get another. You get a spec and tackle. You get spectacle, or even three words for like a skin, knee, deep. You get skinny dip. It's a very fun game, and he has some great accent with that French voice, and even and the cinematography is done really well recreating it, and even those title cards. So that's all I have to say today. Let me know what you guys think about Crashbox. See you around.